excited to do that.
All right. First, thank you all so much for coming. I need to apologize for my really pathetic slides. You know, this is what happens when you wait till 3 o'clock on the day of to do something. So don't be like me, be better than me. So my job is, I'm at ASU, I'm a program coordinator, and we have this fabulous foundation fellowship from Helios. And the purpose of that grant is to help teachers become better teachers, to help students become really good teachers. So we have a lot of opportunities available, and that is my job. I get to spend money and I get to help teachers. So it's like the dream job for me. So what I want, my email is up here, aaron.craft@asu.edu. If any of this stuff I'm talking about sounds interesting, send me an email. If you want to be put on an email list that I can send you information about any of these things I'm talking about, send me an email. So that's why it's up there over and over and over again. All right. Some upcoming events, just real quick, that I want to talk about.
It takes a second.
Does it? Did I just...
Yeah.
That was so difficult. So we have a genocide awareness programming. It's actually Genocide Awareness Week, but it's in April, and Dr. Volker Bennett has done such a great job that it's become Genocide Awareness Weeks, months. So for you teachers, we have a educators conference on the Holocaust. It's online. It's February 28th. It's free to you. So that's a great resource if you're going to be teaching anything about genocide for the Holocaust. We have a really, really neat exhibit opening up at Hayden Library. It's going to be there the entire month. So I really encourage you all to stop by and see it. Bullets, Holocaust by Bullets. And then the week of April 4th through 9th is the actual Holocaust Awareness Week. There's going to be a whole plethora of speakers, daily events, things like that. Most of you, actually, your students, you might be able to attend. So please look out for those kind of schedules coming out. And then on April 9th, we have educators workshop based around these events. So that's just kind of one example of the stuff that Shippers has to offer you at ASU. And then if that goes, it's going to tell us. It's really not that hard. I don't know what my problem is. All right, so the Helios Grant. Half of the Helios Grant is meant towards mentorship. So it's things like this, like this event tonight that I'm so glad you all came to. It is if you want to sign up for conferences. We have the CE2 conference coming up in April. Helios is happy to pay for registration for that. We have the Arizona Council of Historical Educators that's ongoing. We're happy to provide grants for that kind of stuff. So that's part of the program. The other half is our William C. Jenkins History Teaching Mentor. I got that switched up. That's what to say, fellowship. And if you are interested in earning an MA in history, not in education, it has to be in history through Shippers, we have scholarships available for that. So that is part of the Helios Grant, is to fund history teachers, current or future, to earn their MA in history. So we have a lot of opportunities. Again, my email, if any of this sounds interesting, or you just have any questions about any of this, please, please, please feel free, reach out to me. This is my job. I'm super excited to help teachers be even better than you already are, or are going to be. One more thing, Sergio, our wonderful caterer, he saw we had lots of leftovers, so he went and got some boxes, and he's gonna fill up some boxes and leave them out on the table. So leftovers, yay! There will also be some cookies on the way out too. So thank you for coming and enjoy your amazing speakers.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I'd like to invite up Allison Avery, who is our lead educator here at the Arizona Heritage Center. And I'm gonna find your slides, Allison, and I'm gonna also present them maybe, perhaps. And we're not gonna start at the beginning. We're gonna start in medias res. There you are.
Awesome, thank you, Jeannie. All right, like she said, my name is Allison. I am the education curator here at this museum, Heritage Center. And this is our education team. So we have Janie, she's in Tucson, me in Tempe, and then we are excited to have Nova, who is our new curator of education in Flagstaff. So if any of you are wanting to communicate with any of us educators about future classroom materials or anything like that, or just kind of to pick our brains about local history, these are kind of the people to chat with. All right, so I'm going to kind of go over the education resources here that we offer at AHS. The first one that I like to point out is our classroom engagement. So, when you are in the classroom and you're looking into how to integrate the different, resources that we have here, we are a fantastic resource. So we offer field trips that can align with what you are teaching. So if you wanted to have a general field trip, that is an option. But if you have a specific topic that you are teaching on and you want to have more of like a focused field trip, communicate with us and we can help tailor that field trip to whatever you are currently teaching. So it's a fantastic opportunity to kind of really hammer in, what you're going over. That way there's more engagement with the students and it better aligns with kind of what that focus is. We also offer virtual and in-person classroom visits. So, obviously we're going through a kind of funky time with the pandemic. Many schools can't come in. We can't, offer field trips of 120 students currently because we got to be conscientious about mitigating the spread. So if you wanted to have a virtual classroom experience, again, contact the ed team and we can make that tailored experience to cater to what you are teaching, or have one of us educators, depending on where you're located. Obviously, if you're in Tempe, that would be me. And I could come in and kind of have that experience with your classroom and have that more personal feel. Also, we provide lesson plan services. So if you needed to reach out to the team and had a specific topic that you're really interested in and you need some assistance on how to create lesson plans for that topic or how to integrate, the archival materials or objects into your lesson, reach out to us. We do provide that assistance and we can provide, tailored lesson plans specifically for your needs. This is a new program that we piloted this year. It's been really a fantastic program called Museum in a Box. This is a fully virtual or fully digital program. It is a collection of lesson plans that integrate the objects from the collections as well as archival materials. Currently, we have these two that are offered, the K through 2 and the 3 through 5. K2 is covering water in Arizona. So this integrates some science standards, some social studies standards, some ELA standards into those lesson plans. It is a great program that you can draw out for, several weeks. If you wanted to do it within a couple of days, it's kind of up to you. It's very, adjustable. And then the 3rd through 5th grade is the 5 C's of Arizona, which is perfectly aligned with the 3rd grade standards. So a lot of teachers that are coming into the 3rd grade standards, it's, nothing is changed for you, but the teachers that have been teaching for 10 plus years, it used to be a 4th grade standard, now it's a 3rd grade standard. So 3rd grade teachers are having to deal with the new challenges of, adjusting to the standard changes. Down the line, we have the middle school and high school Museum in a Box programs that are coming out this spring. The middle school is about Arizona's fight for women's right to vote. And then the high school is about civil rights movement in Arizona. All right, one other place that you can find resources is the Arizona History Digital Hub. Now, this is a great place to find just quick activities, quick resources, quick fun, more like fun activities that you can do with your class. If you have, a day where maybe you're doing review or, you don't have, it's not so content heavy, this is a great resource to check out to have some quick activities to do with your class. They're tailored for different age ranges. So a lot for the little guys, but some for the older kids. So kind of look through there. They're all free, they're all printable, and they're a great resource to take advantage of in your classroom. All right, so some upcoming stuff that we have going on for Arizona history resources. This coming school year, we will have the Buffalo Soldiers in Arizona virtual reality. Now, this is a program that we had partnered with U of A, their Center of Digital Humanities. This will be a virtual reality program. It's covering the Buffalo Soldiers in Arizona. And it's integrating our archival materials and collection objects that are centered around the Buffalo Soldiers, and it will be an interactive virtual program for the kiddos. It's a great opportunity for new classrooms. It's a great way to integrate technology and history, and it's a fun way to engage students. And with that, this is the educator's email address. This is a great way to reach out to any of us educators, me, Janie, and Nova. All of us have access to this email. So if you wanted to contact any one of us, just shoot us an email here, and whoever the right corresponding educator will be able to interface with you, one-on-one. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and send it to Janie.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. So I'm actually we're not going to talk about History Day just yet. I know we're all very excited to talk about History Day. But I'm actually going to bring up our library and archives staff to talk a little bit about Arizona Historical Society Library and Archives. And I will get this ready for you, Jen. My apologies. There you are.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully it works. All right. Can you all hear me? We were joking before that, you just had the educators with their education voice. I'm library, so I'm a little quiet. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our library and archives here. Let's see if I can work this. We actually, AHS, if you might know, we have 4 locations, but we actually only have 2 library and archives in Tucson and here in Tempe. We do have material for Flagstaff. It is housed at the Klein Library at NAU, and also some of the photographs are here in Tempe. But for your materials, Tucson and Tempe are your 2 locations that you're going to find archival material. We have 4 archivists under our vice president. Myself, Jen Mary, we have Perry and Rachel down in Tucson, and Isabel here in Tempe. She's got to run, so she's gonna just sit there for a minute and pipe up if I forget something. So let's talk a little bit about what we have and what we can do for your students. We mostly collect the history of Arizona, which is obvious, we're the Arizona Historical Society, but we do occasionally have Northern Mexico, New Mexico, some of the Four Corners areas, anything that pertains to the history of Arizona, and some of those places do have materials that hit on our early history. And that's usually going to be in our book collections. We have a wide variety of other materials, your primary sources. We've got family and personal papers, business papers, photos, periodicals, maps, city directories. City directories are really good use for some of your students that are underused. We would be happy to talk to students if they're working on, say, a National History Day project that might need a little more context. City directories are awesome. We have a lot of oral histories. That's another underused collection that I think students really could benefit from. Anywhere from prominent people in Phoenix to just people that lived every day, and a lot of that context can be really good for projects. We have a lot of architectural collections. Those are mostly here in Tempe. We have a huge collection of microfilm in both locations, and we actually have a lot of photos with dogs, and you'll see several of those in our presentation. So if you're wondering what an archivist does all day, a lot of what we do is answer reference questions. And what we mean by reference is anything somebody asks us, anything from, hey, do you have anything on a particular topic, to a very specific question, what year was XYZ happening? So we do all of that. And if we don't know the answer, we will send you to someone who does. We try to keep up with what collections all the other locations have. The State Archives is going to talk to you a little bit about what they have. We try to send what we know over there, and vice versa if we don't have the answer. We provide access to our collections. So we give access to primary source materials, and we try to help you find the correct collection for what it is that you're researching. We do a lot of genealogy and property research. We create a lot of digital education programs. Allison mentioned the Digital Hub. There's some of the programs we've done are in there for you to view as well. We have a YouTube channel too that has a lot of our programs that you can view. The archives, most of what we do is scanning documents and photos. That's a lot of what we do to provide the reference research. We also process collections, and we make sure that everything is kept and preserved. So when you're searching the archives, there's a lot of different ways that you can look at our collections. There is a handout on the table out there that gives you pretty much an overview of what I'm talking about here. So make sure you grab one of these and take them with you, because it tells you exactly how to do the research in our catalog and on our finding aids. So our catalog is where you want to start. And what you're looking at is the description of what we have. It's not going to be the actual collection, because most of our stuff is not digitized. That would take us about 1 million years to get everything digitized. So you still need to look at our catalog and look through our resources to narrow down what you're looking for, but we're always here to help. So if you don't really understand how to search, or if you have a question, just let us know. So the catalog, there's the URL. Again, it's on this handy little guide. And that's going to be your broad search. So you're going to type in your catalog, your keyword search, the name of the person you're looking for, whatever, wherever you want to start with that research. A lot of what's in our catalog is Tucson. Tucson was our first location. Everything has been put into the catalog over the last 155 years. Tempe, we're still working on getting a lot of our stuff in our catalog. So again, call us, we can find things a lot quicker for you. What you're gonna find is a finding aid, and I'm gonna just explain quickly what a finding aid is. This is what describes the collection itself. So it will help you narrow down whether that's the collection that you want to look at. So if you see on this collection, it says that there's 9 boxes. You really want to narrow that down, because we're only open 4 hours. You're not going to get through all 9 boxes in 4 hours. So you want to use these finding aids. It'll give you a biographical note and some kind of description of what the collection is. That'll say, okay, well, this is what, it's the Roy Drachman collection. This might be what I want because he was a businessman and that's what I'm looking for. If not, then you'll know it's not what you want. They are fully text searchable, so Control F is your friend, put in a key term, see if it shows up on there, and that'll tell you if that's the collection that you want. You let us know that that's the collection, we'll pull it, you come in and take a look at it and find what you're looking for. The other search tool that we like to talk about is the Google Advanced Search. If you've never used one of those, again, our little handout explains how to do that, but that's excellent for any website you're on. When you're in your Google search, if you go, let's see, I don't know if I get there we go. You go down here and put in any site name. Obviously, for this presentation, I'm telling you how to use the Arizona Historical Society. But you put in that URL down here, there we go, right there, and you put your keyword up at the top, and it will search our entire website and all of those finding aids. So if that term shows up anywhere, it's going to kick back where you can find that. And it's a really great tool for any website you're searching on, because it saves you a lot of time. So some of the other collections that we want to talk about that are digital finding aids that you can find there's 3 of them. The Arizona Memory Project, Jane may speak about that a little bit too, but the Arizona Memory Project, AHS has 2 collections up there, 2 groups of collections, I should say, one for Tucson and one for Tempe. These are photographs, papers, most of ours are photographs, but the Arizona Memory Project is a conglomeration of a lot of different institutions, not just us, but the state archives, the university archives, smaller museums and archives. And it's a great resource for Arizona history, because you can find a lot of different material there, and every single thing that you pull up will tell you underneath who owns that collection, whether it's us, the state archives, or whoever. Another great search item, and again, all of this is on your handout, is the Arizona Archives Online. Now, that is where you will search our Flagstaff collections, because they're up at NAU. NAU put them in a format that could be readable on the Arizona Archives Online, but it also has other NAU collections, ASU collections, U of A collections, state archives collections, and it's, again, keyword searchable. So that's a great resource for all of Arizona archives. And then the last one is our digital archives, which Allison talked about a little bit, but we also have archival collections in there, as well as the education resources. And we've also got our own Content DM site with our own photo collections that are similar to what they do with the Arizona Memory Project, but these are some that we've put up recently. So right now we are open by appointment only. We're open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Friday. We will do reproductions for a fee. We do allow photos in the archives. So if you're coming in to do research for a paper or something, or if you have your students come in for National History Day, they can take photos with their phone as long as they're not going to be putting them up on a website or anything. Anyone can use their phone for research purposes. And we do offer for National History Day students and for any of you with your other students, if they're working on a project and they need a little extra help, we're happy to schedule an appointment, have them come in, and we can help them figure out what resources in our collections that they can use, and we'll help them find other things too. We've helped National History Day students navigate the National Archives website and the Library of Congress and things like that. We can, we're pretty good at searching, so if they need a little extra help, we're always happy to do that. The one thing we like to point out, please cite where you found things. And as teachers, if you teach your students how to cite things, we will love you forever. You want them to remember where they found that thing, because I can't tell you how often we get, hey, I found this photo on the internet. Can I get a copy of it? Well, I have thousands of photos, hundreds of thousands of photos. I don't know where that came from without some guidance. So it's really important to teach students how to do citations. For our citations, tell us where you found it, AHS, what collection, the collection number. All of this is found on those finding aids. So if you have a copy of that in front of you, you have your citation. You just need to let us know what that was. Box, folder, and then if it's a photo or a document, it may have an additional number. It's fairly easy to try to keep those citations, and it's on this little handout also. Again, we're here to help. So here's our information. That main AHS reference at azhs.gov will get all four of us, Tucson and Tempe, and we rotate. So whoever's on call for the week will answer the question or send it to the appropriate person. So you're always welcome to ask us if you have questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen.
No problem.
Okay, so one last friend from the historical, well, actually me, I forgot about me. So two, but I'm gonna bring up Nate. Nate is our newly minted collections manager, very exciting. And Nate's gonna talk to you a little bit about three-dimensional collections, maybe, at the Historical Society. Boop.
All right, so yeah, as Janie just mentioned, my name is Nate Samariski, and I'm the statewide collections manager for the Arizona Historical Society. So Jen just talked to you a little bit about how to use our archival resources here for research. And so I would like to extend that into the realm of three-dimensional collections and objects. The Arizona Historical Society has over 60,000 objects in its collections across Arizona. Our main storage locations are here in Tempe at the Arizona Heritage Center and at the Arizona History Museum in Tucson. However, we do have collections on display at the Pioneer Museum in Flagstaff, as well as the Sanguinetti House in Yuma. Our collections span centuries, ranging from Spanish colonial objects to Mexican decorative arts, through the territorial period and statehood, through the 20th century, all the way to the present. Some highlights from the Arizona History Museum collections include objects such as Geronimo's rifle and Wyatt Earp's wedding ring. Military uniforms such as those worn by Santa Ana and Buffalo soldiers stationed in Arizona. And an Abbott Down and Company stagecoach from around 1860. Here at the Arizona Heritage Center, we have military uniforms from World War I and World War II, as well as objects from the internment camps in Arizona. We have a sizable collection of artworks made by people both in the camp and outside the camp once they were allowed to leave. We have objects that outline Arizona's political history. So objects relating to Barry Goldwater's 1964 presidential campaign, including a suit that he wore. Expanding our political collections, we have objects related to Rose Mofford, Arizona's first female governor. So these include her wedding dress, political memorabilia, and one of her famous Rolodexes in which she kept all of her important contacts. We represent Arizona's business history as well. For example, Donna Frios, the inventor of the cactus candy, and America West Airlines, which was founded in Tempe in the early 80s. Paintings by prominent Arizonan artists, including Marjorie Reed, Ed Mell, and Maynard Dixon. And in fact, if you look up when you're standing in our lobby, you'll see a large mural of the Grand Canyon, which was Maynard Dixon's last work. And finally, bringing it up to the collection, or the present, we've expanded our collections to include objects from the current pandemic and the COVID-19 crisis. Now, this is just a very small selection of objects in our collection that I'm sharing with you. The topics are boundless. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. But why study objects at all? What can they tell us? They're not quite as simple as looking at photos of documents, but they do tell us a different story and fill in another piece of the puzzle. So for starters, they can show us the materials that were available or affordable for people to use at different periods in history. They can outline the method of creation of different objects and how those have changed over time, as well as popular trends and styles. Think about clothing fashion. Objects can also tell us about their owners. So again, they place their owners within a certain time period, but can also hint at social status. So social class or level of wealth. For example, a lower class family in the early 1900s would probably not be able to afford a silver tea set, whereas an upper class family would. They can hint at stylistic preferences of their owners, and depending on the object, could even tell us about their occupation or hobbies or other interests. And finally, objects can show us what people have historically valued. Our collections exist today because someone decided to save these objects instead of throw them away. They either have personal significance, like Wyatt Earp's wedding ring, or historic significance, like our military uniforms. But from studying the objects in our collection, you can get a sense for what people in the past have deemed important enough to share with us today. So again, if you're interested in learning more about our collections or setting up an appointment to see objects in our collections, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is on the screen now. And I also have cards up front that you can grab.
Thank you, Nate. Okay, so before we change gears slightly, does anyone have any questions? This is a good break for questions. No? Cool. All right. So now we're going to talk about History Day. Yay, History Day. So in addition to being the lead educator for the Historical Society, I'm also currently the National History Day in Arizona coordinator. So how many of us, I know that a lot of us are working with a local high school, I think, on their History Day projects. So prior to that, how many people knew about History Day? Well, thank you. I'm glad y'all know. So History Day, I'm gonna go really quick because I know you all are already working with History Day. So National History Day provides kind of the curriculum and the structure, the contest structure. What I do is the rest of it. So I make sure that teachers have access to those materials. I make sure that students have access to the contest. Because it's housed here at the Historical Society, we do a lot of one-on-one consultation with students to talk to them about their projects. So basically, National History Day in Arizona makes History Day in Arizona happen. So National History Day Arizona and National History Day are project-based learning models. So basically what that means is instead of giving assignments, the students work on a project throughout the course of the semester. And that is supposed to give them real-time experience on what it is exactly that a historian does. I know that the reference librarians get asked this question all the time, but I love when we have the public come to the museum And they're like, can I talk to a historian? And I'm like, I don't like that tone, but I'm happy to talk to you. And they're like, I got a question. Did Wyatt Earp live in Prescott? And I'm like, if you can Google that information, I don't know it. But if you want to talk about connections and what it means, then, you know, we can go somewhere from here. So the point of History Day is that the students are the expert on the topic. And the reason that we do that is to encourage them to develop their own unique opinion supported by facts, and to be able to defend that opinion supported by facts. A little bit about National History Day and the inquiry model. So it easily fulfills your inquiry and C3 framework classroom requirements because the students do all the work themselves. This is not, in theory, this is not a project that you have to hold students' hands through. Although we do work with students in the 4th and 5th grade and they do need a little bit of extra help. But theoretically, the students should be able to do this entirely on their own. They learn the tools of the historian, they analyze, they understand bias and nuance and individual perspective, and they understand that those are key to historical thinking. There isn't just one narrative, there are so many different narratives, and understanding how they interlink or don't is key to the whole process. And then students must convincingly argue their point and consider the historical significance of their work in conversation with professionals in the field. Students will be tempted to just kind of regurgitate something a professor said. That's not what we're doing. I'm not interested in what that professor said. I could read their book if I was interested in it. What I am interested in is what the student thinks. A little bit about, so here in the Phoenix area, National History Day is split because it's usually a pretty big market. So we've got East Valley and we've got West Valley. National History Day is very flexible and it can fit into your schedule as a teacher. So 6-week timeline, a 10-week timeline, a 15-week timeline, we can make History Day work for your classroom regardless of your time constraints. So the theme for 2022 is debate and diplomacy in history, successes, failures, and consequences. And I've seen the first 2 crops of projects rather. Lots of really interesting topics. Things about the Cold War, things about the colonization of Guam. Lots of interesting projects on some fascinating Arizona history topics, which we'll talk about in a second, but things like the OK Corral, things like the Rough Riders, very fascinating. So I've kind of created this list of Arizona history topics that I thought would be good for this year's annual theme. A couple students actually did the Bisbee deportation and I'm really excited about it. And I can't wait to connect them to stuff that y'all have on the Bisbee deportation. That's going to be great. But I think the important thing to keep in mind is that there are so many ways to talk about local history. And here's a good example of that. So these are all digital collections from the Arizona Historical Society that Jen talked about and Allison talked about. But I pulled these as they relate to the National History Day in Arizona theme, because students are going to write projects about Japanese incarceration. Students are going to do their projects about civil rights movements in the 1960s. So why not include an image from our local history, right? The entire project doesn't have to be about Arizona, but you can include those local resources to show that this national event is happening on a national scale and it's impacting individuals anywhere in the country. We did a series of workshops for History Day 2021, 2022, retooling this a little bit for next year, just to make this easier for students and teachers to access. But we're going to maintain the workshops because here at History Day Arizona, it's not just about the contest. We're excited about the contest. We're excited to see the students work, but we also want to help them become the best historian that they can be. And if that means they never compete at a contest, that's fine with us. So getting started with National History Day is easier than ever. You don't even have to teach the curriculum in your classroom just yet. National History Day encourages something like 3 years incubation for new teachers because it's it looks very overwhelming from the outside, but there are ways to engage with History Day to make it bite-sized. You can show your students a workshop. We can just look at History Day projects. We can break it down into small enough pieces to prepare you and your students to get ready to do something like compete at the regional or state level. And of course, we have an email address, nhdaz@azhs.gov. I think that's what this slide will say too. You can also go to azhs.gov/nhdaz, where you'll find things like topic advice, classroom grants. This year we had a huge grant from Arizona Humanities to help offset the cost of student registration. So we're really interested in ways of making History Day more accessible for more students. Okay, enough about History Day, because I know that some of you already work with it. Now I'm gonna bring up, oops, yikes. I'm gonna bring up Julie to come talk a little bit about ASU Distinctive Collections.
Hello, everyone. How are you? See, it's the end of the day and everyone's tired, right? This is going to be a 13-hour day for me, so I felt for you. And the presentation that I created is created to be distributed to you. So later on, you'll have the descriptions of things with links. Hopefully, all the links work properly. They did this morning. My name is Julie Tanaka. I'm the curator of rare books and manuscripts at Arizona State University. I'm also the interim head of distinctive collections. Other places we call them special collections, so the rare and cool stuff that people normally don't get to touch. The presentation is designed primarily with our online resources because I was told this is for the entire state, and I figured if you're down in Tucson, you probably don't want to drive up to Kentucky to come see our stuff, so you're welcome to do that. And also with the K-12 schools, it's often hard to get a group of students here onto the Tempe campus because it requires all kinds of resources and chaperones and all that kind of stuff. And I think traditionally people don't think of bringing K-12 students to the university campus to special collections in particular. I don't see why they don't, and this is part of my outreach effort right now. I really do encourage, if you're a K-12 educator, to contact me and talk about bringing your students in, or even if you want to work online, you can do that. I think this is an important part to get students into working with primary sources at a really early age. So that's my commercial for special collections. Are we arrow keys on this?
Arrow keys, space keys. Oh, actually, it's PDF. I'm sorry. Yes, there you go.
There we go. I'm a Mac user, so I always have to ask. If you have any questions, we have this thing called Ask an Archivist. It's kind of our online question thing. Send your question in, and we look at it. Oh, this goes to this person. This goes to that person. So it's the easiest way to get a hold of any of us. And you can click on Ask an Archivist, or else the link is underneath. So at ASU, if you want to look at our digital stuff, we have two main things. The first one is called KEEP. Yes, there's an explanation for the acronym, but I won't get into that. It's essentially the institutional repository, and this is where you're going to find the stuff that ASU professors, staff, and students create. It's new. We just launched it this past year, so not everything is in it, but there's a good amount of stuff in there. You can do a search in here. So I just did something random, and you'll get a list of the items on the right-hand side, and then on the left-hand side, you can go through and you can limit your search pretty much like you're doing in Amazon, as you narrow down. And then one of the items that was further down the list was something called Maria's interview, and I put this one up to show you in particular because yes, we have documents. You can read people's theses and the boring stuff that people write. But we also have non-textual material. So this one happens to be an audio clip. It's in WAV format that you can download, or if you click on the little arrow at the top, you can play it directly from the website. And there's information on here about what it is, whether it's in copyright. Our other main place that you're going to find electronic stuff is in our digital collections, and it's called Prism. Again, it stands for something, but I won't get into that. This is also new, and we've migrated most of the things that were in our old digital collections platform into this one. A few things haven't been migrated yet. But you can browse by collection, and then when you do that, there's a list comes up You can click on the letters at the top, but the downfall of that is it's alphabetized by whatever the first word is. So if you're looking for a topic and you click on the letter, you may not necessarily get that. So be forewarned. And then here you can either click on about, that'll give you more information about the collection. And then if you click on browse, it'll take you to the page where that's where you'll find the digital images from that collection. To give you some samples, and I picked out things that I thought might be useful for K through 12 education, particularly to Arizona history. We have quite a few photographs in our collections. The McCullough Brothers is a huge collection that gets a lot of use. The entire collection is not digitized, but we do have almost 6,000 pieces. So that's up there. All of these are hyperlinks, so you can go ahead and click on those and get an idea of the different types of materials. If you're teaching something on civil rights, there's some documentation from when Martin Luther King Jr. was in Arizona. And then of course the Grand Canyon. This is the Grand Canyon State. There's a huge project celebrating 100 years of Grand with lots of images in that. Did that change? We also have a large collection of state and local documents. So that's in salad. ASU likes acronyms, so salad, eat your veggies. We also have a new collection called the Black Collections. It just started in August, so there's not a lot of material in it yet, but one of the cornerstone pieces are the Eugene Grigsby papers. I think there's an event coming up with him as well later this month or maybe next month. And then we also have oral histories, good way of introducing your students to how to use an oral history. This is my department. So as I said, I'm interim head of distinctive collections. That's us. We are comprised of 4 main collections: rare book and manuscripts. That's my area. I work in early text, so 14th, 15th, 16th century. We have a Latin Americana collection that includes quite a bit of material from Mexico, but also from the rest of Latin America. We have a nice growing collection of Brazilian artist books and Peruvian artist books and small presses. Design and architecture. So if you're interested in local Arizona architecture and design, these have drawings of not only ASU buildings, but also we have a nice collection from Taliesin West, Frank Lloyd Wright. Child drama, we are the great bearers of the world's largest collection of materials related to child drama and theater for youth. Unfortunately, we're without a curator right now, but we do have someone filling in to help, but there's a lot of materials in there, especially from local productions from the greater Phoenix area. The other group that forms our big special collections unit, this is the archives group. This is probably where the majority of material is if you're interested in teaching things about the history of Arizona. Some of them, actually probably a good part of the materials that we have in these collections overlap with materials that you saw earlier from all the other presentations. Obviously not the same document, but at least topically similar. I mentioned the Black Collections already. That's a new collection that's developing. Chicano collection is the largest collection of Chicano materials in the state, about the state of Arizona, in the state of Arizona. Greater Arizona collection, primarily Arizona, but it's also materials related to the greater Southwest region. And then of course, University Archives that has all the interesting things about ASU, including the evolution of the Sparky costume. There are pictures where he's pretty scary. Outside of distinctive collections and archives proper, we have other units at ASU that have special materials that I think would be useful for you. Our Map and Geospatial Hub has a huge selection of maps. There are, I think, over 60,000 maps in there, most of them of Arizona and the greater Southwest region. And a matter of fact, I was walking around the museum, and the one that I have in here as an example is up on the wall in the museum. So Arizona's Lost Mines and Ghost Towns, if you go to the museum, it's on the back wall. So if you click on that, it enlarges it, but it'll take you to the news story where it tells you about the map. It also tells you kind of the background where you can use information about why this is important to studying the history of Arizona, how it could be used. If you're interested in doing work with your students related to the indigenous communities in Arizona, We have the Labriola National American Indian Data Center. The director for the Labriola, Alex Soto, is a member of the Tohono O'odham community, and they have a wealth of materials, both regular, part of the circulating collection and part of special collections. For example, we have the papers of Peter Zinza. So he was president of the Navajo Nation. And here, you saw one of these earlier, Finding A. You can find this on Arizona Archives Online, so the link's up there. And it gives you all the information that you need about that. This one has a collection list on it, so you can go through and get information about the types of materials that are in here that might be useful for teaching something related to the Navajo. We're also a federal depository library, so we have a large set of government documents, federal government documents, but ASU has expanded this, and we also have this gigantic collection of local and state documents that you, at least I was told, you can't necessarily find in other places throughout the state. So if you're looking for an Arizona document, whether it's state or local, our collection is a good place to come, and you can see the links there. And we also have a collection of United Nations materials. So, thank you. I hope that was informative. Again, keep in mind that even though normally we work with researchers from all over the place, professors, graduate students, undergraduate, part of our mission now, I've been here for almost 2 years, is really starting to work with the local K-12 students and educators. I think we have a lot to offer. All of our staff are here to help you. So if you have any questions, you can either drop a line into Ask an Archivist, or my contact information is at the bottom, and I'd be more than happy to answer your questions directly. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Janelle Breedveld. I'm the Federal Documents Librarian at the State of Arizona Research Library. And tonight we're going to talk about resources that are available from the Research Library and also from the state archives. So if you weren't already aware that the state of Arizona had a state library, hopefully now you know. The library and the archives are both located at the Polly Rosenbaum Archives and History Building in downtown Phoenix. And the research library consists of closed stacks. So that means that visitors who come to the library, unfortunately, you can't go wander around our stacks of materials, but we do have a reading room available where you can come in and you can look at materials from the library and from the archives. And right now, due to the pandemic, we are on an appointment-based system. So folks can go on our website using this green Ask a Question button, and you can submit a form and either ask a research question, or you can make an appointment to come visit us in person. So in those closed stacks, the library has historical and current books, maps, newspapers, periodicals, microfilm, and more. And separately, the state archives has 482 collections with over 50,000 containers, microfilm reels, and volumes. And since our departments are co-located in the same building, it's really wonderful for us because that means we can work together to meet researchers' needs. So just going back to this Ask a Question button, once you click that button on our site, if you have a reference question or if you need to make an appointment, a form will pop up just asking for your contact information and your question. And then we have library staff and archive staff who are monitoring this page. So we'll get back to you. We may ask some follow-up questions, and we usually try to do that within a few business days if possible. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just focus on the research library, and then my colleague Jane from the archives will continue on later to specifically talk about the archives. So the research library, we have a bunch of different specialized collections that are available, and you can see some of those on the screen. So we have the Arizona collection, the newspapers collection, the federal documents collection, law collection. We're also a patent and trademark resource center. I don't know that any of your students will probably go so far as to look into patents and trademarks, but if they do, I'm one of the trained staff who are available to help folks with those questions. We also have our state publications collection and our maps collection. And if you're interested just in diving more deeply into any of these collections, you can visit the link here that's on our website. So what's in our collections? So specifically the Arizona collection, which I think will probably be really useful for students who are doing history research. This is a continuation of the 1864 Territorial Library. And this contains books, city and county reports, periodicals, and vertical files on Arizona, and also more broadly on the Southwest. So we also have collections from the Arizona collection that have been digitized and put on the Arizona Memory Project, which you heard Jen mention a little bit earlier. So those are historical books, periodicals and magazines, city directories, and then there's also a collection called Communities of Worship, Religion in Arizona. So another really great resource that's available through the library, and I'm not sure many people know about it, is called Reading Arizona. And this is a platform that could be really valuable specifically for history instruction. So this is a free selection of both nonfiction and fiction ebooks and audiobooks. And these are for all ages who are interested in Arizona topics and themes. So specifically, students can access over 1,000 ebooks or audiobooks on their phones or on their laptop. And the library has over 200 titles that are also multi-user access. So that means you could use one of these books in the classroom and all of the students could simultaneously read it as long as they had a phone or a laptop without any wait lists. And you can see those titles here on the screen. There's a link called Always Available. So those are those multi-user titles. Over 100 of those multi-user titles are also specifically from the University of Arizona Press. So that means students have free access to scholarly publications on a variety of Arizona-related topics and themes. And to see those lists, you can see here under University of Arizona Press Collection, and then there's a subset called Multi-User Access. So if you're interested in more information about Reading Arizona, you can go to the LibGuide that's linked here on the screen, and that will show you how to create a free account, how to access titles, and then it also has these various featured lists. So next is our government documents collection. So again, I'm the federal documents librarian. I specifically manage the federal documents collection. And what's really cool about the State of Arizona Research Library is just like ASU, we are a federal depository library. We have been one since the early 1900s, and we are also the regional federal depository library for Arizona, which means we get free government documents from the United States Government Publishing Office, and we have to keep those in perpetuity. So we have an extensive collection of nearly 1 million publications dating back to the 1860s. It's a really unique collection. It's very fun to manage. And there's also a lot of great materials in there that students may not be aware of that they could use for history research. So a few of those are the U.S. Congressional Serial Set. So this is one of the oldest and most treasured publications from the federal government. There's so much rich information that's available there for research. It's slowly being digitized and made available online, but there are only certain libraries in the country that have the entire collection or most of the collection in print form, and we are one of those libraries. There's also other collections like the Public Papers of the Presidents, the compilation of presidential documents, and there are federal agency publications like the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Department of the Interior, Department of Agriculture, and the Census Bureau, to name a few. So in addition to a lot of the print materials we have available, we also have a lot of things digitized or that have been made available online by other partner organizations. So first, we've digitized a lot of federal documents specifically on Arizona-related themes, like national parks that are here, mines and minerals from Arizona, and the census here in Arizona. And all of those have been uploaded onto the Arizona Memory Project in specific collections. And in some cases, many of these items have been scanned for the very first time. They're not available anywhere else except through the Arizona Memory Project. There's also another few resources I just wanted to highlight for you. One is govinfo.gov. This is the website from the United States Government Publishing Office that offers free official government documents. So students can also access materials there like congressional reports, bills, public and private laws, court opinions, and the statutes at large. And all of those can be accessed freely on any phone or laptop. And then lastly, specifically for educators, there's a website called Ben's Guide to the US Government. And this website was designed to inform teachers and students specifically about all aspects of the federal government. And there are also lessons plans that are available. There's learning adventures and there's educational games. So it's a pretty cool site. If you haven't heard of it before, I recommend checking it out. Next, there's also the state documents collection. And so this collection is specifically focused on Arizona government agencies from the territorial times to the present. So this collection has agency reports and audits, special investigations, Senate and House of Representative reports, and then there's also agency research studies, newsletters, handbooks, and maps. And I also wanted to highlight there are a few materials available online as well in that collection. Specifically for younger students, the state agencies publish pamphlets for educational purposes, like the House of Representatives Arizona bill, where students are taught how a bill becomes a law. The Secretary of State's office has also issued a book called the Secretary of State for Kids Activity Book. And that's a really fun coloring book that you could print off and kids can learn more about Arizona. And then lastly, the Department of Transportation has the Arizona Highways magazine. And that's a really great resource for learning about Arizona through travel and photography. So all of these are available online through this collection. Next, we have our newspaper collection. So it's the largest collection of Arizona newspapers in the entire state. It spans from the very first newspaper that was published in 1859 to current titles. And again, you're going to keep seeing this pop up. We've digitized 120 of those newspaper titles and put them on the Arizona Memory Project. And we're working all the time as we're allowed with copyright restrictions to digitize and add more newspapers. Some other cool research tools just to let you know about, there's the Arizona Almanac. So this is a really great site just for more information about Arizona. And then we also have the Arizona Research Topics page. So this is a part of the site that's been curated around specific topics that are related to Arizona. Each little icon that you see on the screen here, once you click it, it will take you to a new page that has background information. It may have photographs, oral histories, reports, links to material from the archives collection. So one of those topics is the Bisbee deportation, which we talked about earlier. We also have interesting things like Miranda versus Arizona. You can see here on the screen the Arizona-Mexico Commission. So any student who might be doing research on a topic, this could be a helpful place for them to start to see what information might be available and out there, or what we might have at the library and the archives. So our favorite thing to talk about tonight, the Arizona Memory Project. So as we said before, this is a platform that's managed by the research library. It has digital historical content from us, as well as from our other partners like the Historical Society, like ASU, other archives around the state, museums, and other cultural institutions. So there are thousands upon thousands of state and federal agency documents. There's photos, there's the newspapers I talked about. We also have maps, we have oral histories. There's so much available through AMP. It is a little wonky at times to search, and we're actually in the process right now of migrating to a new platform. So you can still access this site. It's still searchable. Nothing's changing right now. But by the end of this year, we will be on a new website called Recollect that should have even better search features. So we're really excited about that. But in the meantime, if you or your students are using AMP, we have a really great video. There's a YouTube link here that just gives you some directions on how to search the site, or if you run into any problems, you can always contact us. And then the last resource to highlight today, the best way to find anything in our physical or digital collections is to go to our online catalog. And it's fairly easy to search. Most of our material is there, and it will show you if we have physical holdings or if there are links either to AMP or to external sources. But again, we have a very helpful YouTube video that just has some tips and tricks for you or for students about the best way to search the site to get the maximum number of results. So that's it for me as far as the research library portion. Again, I just want to highlight, if you have any questions for us, you can go to our website and click that big green Ask a Question button, or you can go to the link that's up here on the screen. And then all of the links that are included in the slide today are also in a handout that's out in the lobby. So please feel free to grab one on your way out. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Jane, in the archives.
All right. Thank you. My name is Jane Cadwallader. I'm an archives technician at the Arizona State Archives. So I'm just going to do a general review of some of the items we have. Like Janelle said, we're in the same building together, which is actually great. You get two excellent resources in one place. Unfortunately, my co-presenter Wendy is not here today, so I'll be taking care of her slides as well. She's the lead reference archivist, and I help her out with reference as well. So I have a question for everybody. Has anybody been to an archives yet before? Yeah? Yeah? All right. So, so research and archives can be scary, but it is also a lot of fun. There are so many resources there, and you never know what you're going to find. We are dedicated to helping you and your students with their research. One of the ways that we want to help is to waive copying fees for the National History Day students, and also to accommodate schedules. I know in the past, Wendy has worked with some of the students to make sure that they were able to come in and research, even if they weren't available to during our regular hours. So what is in the state archives? So I took this picture the other day. This is in one of our pods. We have 4 pods upstairs. And I don't know if you can see, but way in the back, I'm actually standing there in a yellow sweater to just give you an idea of how many records we're dealing with. Janelle mentioned we have hundreds of collections, tens of thousands of containers. What you're seeing in the front of the picture is just a small portion of our governor's office records. They actually cover, I think, 3 of those shelves. So, and they are about, let's see, 18 feet across and 10 feet up. So I did list just a few of the things. One of the biggest things to remember is that if you can't remember anything I said, please remember about Ask a Question. It's our online platform. Janelle mentioned it before, but if you have any questions, or if you're even thinking like, you mentioned that you had one type of record, just talk to us and we'll help you with that. So we do have quite a few records of government, of course, since we are the state archives. By statute, we are the repository for government records from state agencies, boards and commissions, also cities, towns, and county records as well. For example, the governor's office, I think right now we have 30 separate governor's collections in there, and that can be anything from correspondence, reports that were sent, photographs, videotapes, cassette tapes. For the legislature, we have all of the House and Senate journals, and this includes territorial and state records. So that goes all the way back to 1863. For courts, that includes the Supreme Court, Court of Appeals, and also the Superior Courts, which are organized by county. So there are more records than I will probably see in a lifetime in there. We also have different state agencies like Attorney General, Arizona State Land Department, which is my favorite, and Secretary of State. Manuscript collections are a little different. They tend to be personal records. Also, they could be different organizations that aren't an entity of the government. So besides collecting government records, we do also collect Arizona historical records as well. The oral histories, which are, we do have a couple of collections on the Arizona Memory Project. My favorite is the legislative history. So it's memories from former state legislators, and you can actually access that online. We do also have thousands and thousands of photographs, again, on Arizona Memory Project. We do have our historical photographs collection, which spans from the late 1800s up to the late 1900s. And that one is searchable. I work on social media as well. So we use the AMP access to look at a lot of those photos. And audiovisual. So for the legislature, we do have minutes on the audiovisual for many of the committees. This is one of our biggest requests that we get is for legislative history. I know that Martha is our law librarian with the State Research Library, and we work a lot with her on legislative history, which may be of importance for the National History Day. And digital, we do capture websites. We also have digital born records, including emails and other things. So just a little of what we do. I just took a picture of the reading room to give you an idea. And I found a box of records, and so I just put it out for everybody to look at. But basically, the difference between primary and secondary records, the primary records are things that are being produced by the different organizations and individuals while the activities are taking place. And that's what most of our collections are. We do have a few books in the archives, but most of it is going to be correspondence and reports and different things like that. Another thing to keep in mind is that the way that we organize our records is different than a library. Instead of by subject, oftentimes it is by creator. So if you have a specific topic like water, for example, you may find it in multiple collections. In fact, water rights in Arizona is very important, as we all know. And I'd say that a large number of our records have to do with water, but you could find things about water rights in our state historians collection, in the governor's office collection, in the land department. So it's really, that's what we're there for, is to help you narrow it down. Because if you just came in looking for water records, well, you would never in a lifetime be able to get through all of the records we have on water. So resources, we do have an online catalog. It is called Ask. Unfortunately, it's down right now. We are in the process as well of changing over to a new platform. It's called Archivera. So we are hoping to have that up and going in by the end of the next, or not next year, by the end of this year. We're working on that right now. But the new interface will be more accessible for easier discovery for our patrons. And you can contact me. I have my business card out in the front, and also we'll have a link for it on the pamphlet. A few of our presenters already mentioned Arizona Archives Online. It's a great resource for looking at repositories around the state. I'd just like to point out that it is not a comprehensive list of finding aids for the state archives. It's just a snapshot. It does have some great collections on there, and also repository information. And Archive-It is one of our digital resources. We actually have a collection on there. It is part of the Internet Archive, and it is a collection of Arizona government websites captured through the years. I think our earliest capture is in like 2007. So you can actually look back at one website through time, get an idea of how it has changed. And then most important is ask a question. Again, this is on our website. I also have a link on my business card that you can check out. But basically, if you have any question, if you have a question about visiting us in person, getting copies, if you have a record that you already know you want to look at and you need access to it, this is the place to go. The great thing is that it is not just myself or Wendy or Janelle, it's our whole staff is actually looking at that all the time and giving input and helping each other out to answer your questions as best we can. Most importantly, I know a couple of people have discussed this as well. Not everything is digitized. Probably not even the stuff on that first shelf is digitized within our collection. So that's where Wendy, Janelle, I come in, is that we can help access those items that you cannot easily access online. If you have a question about something, we would be happy to answer that and dive into that big repository room and find it for you. All right, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, y'all. Well, first of all, let's give a hand to all of our presenters. Okay, we're actually a little ahead of schedule, which is great because that leaves lots of room for questions. That leaves lots of room for us to go out into the lobby and chit chat, maybe take some leftovers. There's one thing I remember from being an undergraduate student. Leftovers are great. And yeah, so there are just a couple, I think there are a couple things that I want to reiterate before we go to questions. Thing one, ask, send us an email. You're not bothering us. Send us an email if you have a question. And I think the really great thing is, like, we all kind of get pretty similar training. And if I don't have something, I know who does. And I can connect you with Jen. And Jen goes, oh, we don't have that. And Jen can connect you with Julie. Or Jen can connect you with Jade. Lots of Jades. That's strange. Now that that's sinking in. Lots of Jades. So if I don't have something, I know where it is and I can help you find it. You're not bothering us, ask. Have your students email us. It's a really great professionalization exercise for the kids to have them send us an email or a letter. We get a lot of letters. So if you're looking for something, ask. Another thing that I just really want to impart. Someone like name just a topic you would teach in the classroom. What's a historical event that you would teach in your classroom? I'm so sorry? Slavery. Sure, slavery. Every topic that you can teach in your classroom has an Arizona story. Every topic. So slavery was a big kind of debate in early Arizona. The enslavement of indigenous people was a continuing debate in Arizona up until like the 1900s, right? So every topic that you can teach in your classroom, there's an Arizona history story for, right? So you don't have to devote 3 whole days to the Civil War in Arizona. But if you could help your students understand what happened here, it helps connect them better to their own history. So that's kind of, I'll get off my little soapbox about local history, but it's important. It's not just important for your students to feel connected to the history, it's important for us to remember our own history too. So with that, I'll take questions. I already see a question here. So if you've got questions, we can take them. I can take them, or if we have a question for one of our presenters, we can do that too. Yes.
Hey, all the resources that, you know, and all the PowerPoints, is there like a list of them, like online available to us, or the PowerPoints?
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to work on getting those put on the Arizona Historical Society website under the Digital History Hub. And Rachel, who's sitting here with all the equipment, is actually recording this session. So there will be a recorded video of this session. And if you could clip out the part of me vamping in the middle, I would appreciate it. Okay. That's a really great question. Any other questions? Yes.
All right, this might be a little weird question. Do you guys allow like people to come in and look up stuff on Arizona's like history or education, specifically towards people?
Yeah, definitely. We've got some interesting pieces in our collection At least the Historical Society does about bilingual education in Arizona, which is a broad topic. So thinking about Americanization, bilingual education, all of those things are going to be important keywords when you do your search. I would just encourage you to be willing to go down different rabbit holes, right? You might have individuals and some things might come up for those individuals, but think about how there are ways that you can approach the topics from different perspectives. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so I know that we're here until like, I think we said 7:30 because that's when y'all's class ends. So we've got about a half an hour. Feel free to go back into the lobby and we can kind of do meet and greet. If you want to make another pass through the gallery, you're welcome to do that. Terry, do you have anything you want to say to your students before I turn them loose? Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.